Welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer, and we're going to be discussing Big Sky episodes 10 and 11, Catastrophic Thinking, and all kinds of snakes. For whatever reason, they decided to put two episodes up. I don't know why. Well, I guess I do know why, because episode 10 was pointless. So, if you've not hit the sub button or the bell, please do so. We're going to be doing these reviews every single week. I think there's 4 or 5 episodes left. I don't know if it'll get picked up for a second season or an extended season. They have not yet said. But uh, how long have we been on a break for this? Like a month or two?
Jesus, I don't remember.
This is
It
the
came
second
back,
break.
well, it came back with what, episode 6 in
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
January. So I guess it ended like mid-February. So it's been 7 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, it really it's crazy because it's definitely hurt the momentum of the show because I mean, look, we watch it because it's funny. it's I don't watch it because of the quality of the writing. I watch it because it sort of amuses me. It's it does entertain me, so I'll give it that. And as long as you're doing that, I guess that's fine. But I do have a lot of things to critique for the during the course of this review. So I guess we'll start with something that I didn't hate, but I have a lot of questions for. And we'll specifically focus on Ronald over the course, and we're going to be jumping back and forth between episodes 10 and 11. Um, we'll just consider it one big episode. So Ronald, it's 3 months later, and now he calls himself Arthur. He has a dumbass haircut. He wears a beanie. He has a
He
girlfriend.
looks like Shy Ronnie. Like,
Oh shit, that's
do you
exactly
remember?
what he looks like. Yeah. He he has a girlfriend. She has a daughter.
Eh.
And at first, I was like, okay, fine. He's got a girlfriend. How is that going? Because he's still acting weird. But then, as we get into episode 11, the show goes out of its way to be like, no, she's weird too. Now, how weird? I don't know. All we know is finding the taser sort of turned her on sexually. Um, she's definitely wanting him to explore himself more because there's a little scene at the end of episode 11 where she's just like, hey, there's things I'm into. What are you into? It was sort of funny, and then he gets pissed off
Getting
about it.
tased.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but none of that's really weird. I mean, that's all pretty standard shit. The weird part is she likes to steal. Even that's not weird. Let me clarify. The weird part is how stealing makes her feel. She's like, it makes me feel like a god. And even
Yeah.
Ronald looks at her like, what? Like he's a psychopath killer. And when she says that, he's just looking at her like, okay. Now, and I'll let you go here in a second. We know she doesn't communicate with her family because she tells him, yeah, I don't really talk to my family. That's not a red flag. But her sister does come at one point and talk to her. Anyways, I say all that to say, do you believe, and I was thinking this at the end of episode 11, are they setting up some kind of Joker Harley Quinn dynamic? That was something that popped in my head. It's like, is that where they're going with this?
I don't, I don't see how else they could go with it because to me, her character, uh, it's almost like comic relief at this point because, like you said, stealing makes her feel like a god, is what she said. So her euphoric rush from slipping a porcelain cow from a gas station into her purse makes her feel immortal is fucking ridiculous. Like, it's like when she said it, I couldn't stop giggling because, like you said, Ronald's kidnapped people, killed people. They showed in his truck. I don't know who the fuck Kelly was. I don't remember that, but it said something like, please help, and put the name Kelly on there. So it's happened to so many girls. He's done the most horrific things to so many people, and her stealing a piece of plastic from a gas station makes her feel like a god. It it just is ridiculous. It How those stories coincide, I'm not quite sure, but it's funny.
because my thought was she's not done anything that would make me say she would be okay with finding out what he's done. But the way the writing goes on this show, maybe that was enough. The stealing thing, I was like, well, maybe that's the show saying, yeah, she's crazy too. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's where it's going. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I guess there'll be some kind of duo.
That's what makes the most sense. Like just listening to how they're interacting with each other, that's what it sounds like. It just seems like their dynamic is going to go down that path. And for them to take the dynamic down that path, when even Harley Quinn, you look at what she was to the Joker. Joker is a psychopath. Harley Quinn is not. She's really weird, and the things that she oh, excuse me, the reasons for why she does what she does is really it, I, I don't know. That's the dynamic that they're playing, but their counterpart, they're on such opposite ends of the spectrum that it is funny to me, but that is a great comparison as far as character arcs that they're trying to portray.
Yeah, yeah, that's where I think it's gonna potentially go. Even sort of the abuse angle because when they were in
Yep.
bed and yeah, he lashes out and but
He
then he's like, I'm
well,
sorry.
yeah, even verbally, he was just calling her dumb. He was like, "Quit being stupid. Shut up."
But
It was
then
very
he's like, I'm sorry, and she's there. So I was like, yeah, it's very Joker Harley Quinn. Yeah, we'll see. Cassie, Jenny, and Jerry are doing pretty much what we thought they would be doing. They're running their business. I'm going to burn through episodes 10's plot really quickly, and then we'll move on to 11. Just because 10 seemed to be pointless. That being the horse semen plot line. It felt like the whole episode they were trying to introduce some new elements. What Ronald, with a girlfriend, a new, the Marshall, the Blake storyline, but they needed to fill like another 20 minutes. So they were like, all right, there's a horse semen and there's these guys who one of them
dude.
uses the cow gun from Country no um was it No Country for Old Men and um yeah, so it has the worst scene in my opinion of the two episodes, that being the very beginning of episode 10 when they're in the hotel and they have the standoff. It was so horribly shot. There's no way the director didn't think we need to reevaluate how we're doing this because I guess it was they didn't have enough room for the cameras because they're so close to each other. They're essentially touching. Their guns are damn near touching. They're practically on top of each other. The dialogue is horrendous in this scene. Nobody talks like that. And then they let him go. That was even stupid. Like every part of it, from a storytelling point to the logistics of how it was shot to even the dialogue itself. That was, to me, of the two episodes, that was my least favorite scene by far.
Well, like you said, it would, and I even text you this that it feels like the Room, the series. It because everything felt like in that episode they had enough budget to film it at like two locations. So it's like, all right, we have enough money for the office and a hotel room, and that was it. I don't know that there's a whole lot of other locations other than that. There was the house. There was a house for a total of like 8 minutes. And then, well, not even 8 minutes. I meant like 8 seconds. They were at the wife's house for a couple minutes, or their house, I guess. It was the family's home, where the guy from the what was the movie? We talked about it. It was the movie. It was hockey, if I'm not mistaken, where they were trying to blow up the hockey rink, and it was
Oh shit!
Jean Claude.
Sudden Impact.
Yes.
Is that what
Okay.
I'm thinking of?
Yes, it is, because the second Sudden Impact with Michael J. White, that was the bad guy in that. The the guy who was selling the horse semen. He was the bad guy in that
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Dude, every time I saw him, I just couldn't stop laughing because that's all I could think of. And he played equally as horrible a character in both things. But it was just, yeah, like you said, budget
No,
wise,
I was Sudden Death. There
yeah,
we
that's what.
go. Sudden Impact was a Clint Eastwood movie.
Yes, because sudden death referred to the overtime. It
Yeah.
was overtime, but yeah, it was equally as bad. It was so between episode 11 and episode 10. Episode 10 felt like a episode that they shot yesterday, and they had to like throw
Yes.
it there and put it on TV. As opposed to episode 11, even though it felt a little disjointed, episode 11 at least felt like it had a
There are scenes I legitimately enjoyed in 11,
yeah.
which we'll get to here in a moment. 10, I mean, let me finish this plot because let's get to 11. So, yeah, they're trying to make a deal with this horse seaman. The guy with the cow killing gun, he gets killed by being pushed on some antlers. His boyfriend then cleans his body up. I don't understand why he did that. That was a confusing scene to me. Unless he trying to take him to bury him, or because by now you've messed with a crime scene. You didn't kill him, but now you're moving a body. Looks like maybe you did it. Why did he take the body? I didn't understand that. Then he ends up going to the house, and then Jenny shoots him, and that's pretty much it. Any thoughts? Why do you think he took the body? That was, for whatever reason, that bothered me. I was like, why the fuck would you take the body?
Well, at first, when they showed episode 11 and they showed the truck and the one brother pull up, I thought that maybe he was one of the brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought that they were going to carry over
Yeah,
into,
no.
and nope. As soon as I saw, the bad guy persona portrayed by a knife and some metal music, I thought that that was going to be the other characters. I thought that he was going to come back for revenge. They killed his boyfriend, but nothing. Nope. Didn't matter.
What was the point? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was weird. You introduce these new characters, and then you kill one of them, you shoot the other, and it's like, no real point unless they come back later. I mean, or the one that survived. Um, I don't know. I thought it was weird. Any last thoughts on 10? Because we're pretty much going straight into 11.
Well, like we both said, I didn't understand it. Like I didn't know what the point was to even. I mean, I think that they were trying to close up the first 10 episodes and just kind of redirect you, because they did introduce you to the dad of the other family. They introduced you to Blake for a second. So they entered those characters, but they did it so quickly that I didn't even know if they were going to be important.
Well, like I said earlier. It felt like they had about half the episode because, like you said, you introducing Horst and Blake, and also the Marshal, which I'm about to talk about, telling us where Ronald is. That was about 20 minutes. They had that, but then they needed to fill 20 minutes, and so they came up with this plot, and was like, all right, this is what we're doing. This would have been a good time to sit back and maybe go a little more into Jerry and her backstory. You know what I mean? Like they could have done some character stuff with Cassie.
Well, and I don't disagree with that at all. Why didn't they just, instead of adding the horse semen plot, just make the first episode back from break an hour and a half and just cut that whole part out?
That would have that would have been fine as well. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not the show is not designed to be sort of episodic. It hasn't been this thus far, and yet that episode was.
Yes, it stood out to itself. It didn't matter. It didn't play into anything else except for the two parts with the dad and Blake, and that was it. Everything else, like you said, was episodic and didn't matter, because unless it was, I don't know, I can't think of any reason for that character to come back that plays into the bigger plot. Like I don't know, because it was that they said it took place in Helena, like that whole sequence, and the rest of this episode takes place in a different town. So it doesn't even, like, it doesn't make sense for them to even revisit that character.
We get introduced to a character I just straight don't like. He's a marshal. His name's Mark something. I didn't get his last name. He annoyed the hell out of me. I'll say he was a little better in episode 11, a little bit. But in 10, holy shit. I don't know if it was, I mean, it was obviously the writing, but it was also the way he performed it. I don't know if it was the directing or if he didn't understand how to do this character. Clearly, it's sort of a Lynchian, Twin Peaks-esque type character. He's weird. Um, the way he speaks is just not natural. He's odd, and yet he's good. He's good at his job. I said before, in the past reviews, how Rick Legarsky was also sort of that kind of character, sort of a Twin Peaks type character. I thought it worked with that character. I thought he did a good job. This one, he comes off as more annoying. The scene when him and Cassie are walking, there's like no chemistry between those characters. And I'm not saying romance. I'm saying just chemistry as two actors. Like it felt weird. It felt like they did it in one take and they were like, yeah, that's good. I don't know. I just really didn't like the character.
Well, I think, and this goes back to what I've complained about in the first half, I guess, of this series is that you talk about chemistry. I think it's just Cassie. When she has scenes by herself, it's okay. But anytime she's on screen with almost anyone else, it ruins the scene for me. Like I don't know if she's just not a good actress or if it's just the writing is so bad that she just doesn't know how to handle it or play off of it. Every scene that she is in, to me, I just don't enjoy it as much. So, you talk about with the marshal. When they showed the marshal at the end of episode 11, when he was talking to whoever else it was that was in his office, or, the couple scenes that he had with Jenny, like they weren't bad. They weren't as weird. They weren't as awkward feeling as the ones, like you said, with Cassie. He's walking down the street with her and it felt very choppy. That when they're talking to each other, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. It just was not well done.
Yeah. Now he ends up in episode 11. He sets like I said, he's good at his job. So he sets up a camera at Ronald's mother's grave because he assumes that he'll visit it at some point. And he's right. Ronald goes there and sleeps because Ronald's weird.
So good.
And so he comes up with a plan to write a note, I guess, to make Ronald think it's from his mom. I'm guessing that's what that was. We don't get the payoff for that yet. I'm assuming that'll be next week or after. But that is his contribution in episode 11. Oh, and the Jerry scene, which was decent, where he's asking her about her feelings towards what kind of person Ronald is. It was okay. Like I said, he wasn't as bad in episode 11. I'm still not fond of the character. But we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, and that's the thing too. I didn't like Cassie through much of the first part of the first season, like the first episodes leading up to the holiday break. But coming back, I felt like I don't know if it was the way they wrote it or if they just established the storyline a little bit better.
Well, they started giving her screen time. That was one of the issues for the first 4 episodes.
And I think the second half of the season, it was better. But these 2 episodes, once again, I didn't like her again. So I think that they're just having a hard time establishing characters and establishing how they're going to play off each other. And it's when they don't get a lot of screen time or a lot of time together, it's hard to form chemistry when you're in 2 scenes with somebody over a 16 episode arc. It's just hard for you to be able to make the best of those scenes. And I think that that's a big issue I have with the show is that, Rick, every scene that Rick was in, he stole every scene he was in. But the Marshal, it's kind of this character that's a little weird, like you said, Lynch-esque. And now you have him he doesn't deliver it as well as Rick did. So it's very hard for him to steal the scenes. He's not doing as good a job in doing that as Rick Legowski did.
I do think, however, Cassie's and Jenny's scenes together, I thought were decent in these couple episodes. I've been real critical of their interactions in the past. There was never a point where I was annoyed or thought a line was, really crazy. I think those two actresses are starting to gel, if you will.
Yeah, except for when they were in the hotel room that was like a
Oh, like I said, that is a
cinder
whole
block
other.
hotel.
There's everything that could be wrong is wrong in that scene. From
Who?
their dialogue to the other guy's dialogue to even what the character, they don't even make sense from they don't do what they normally would do. Even the characters act odd. That whole scene is horrible. It's just a bad scene.
Yeah. Well, even the second one when they run out of the hotel and it's the the whatchamacallit, the tires slashed and there's blood everywhere.
Yeah,
But like that hotel was like a cinder block hotel, and I'm like, who the fuck would stay in a cinder block hotel? Like, I would just be like, this is not the hotel for me. It was just like painted cinder blocks with a mirror up on the wall and like some weird. And like she said, when she jumped up with the gun and was saying, she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, the front reception guy was kind of a creeper." As soon as that guy asked, and me, even me, like I'd be like, "Nah, I'm not staying here. There's got to be camera somewhere in the like the fan vent in the bathroom. He's spying on me." I no, thank you.
I was about to say I wouldn't stay at a place where I had to guard the door, but then I have stayed at some shady places, so um, I have some hella stories. That places not far off from where they were staying, but tell for another day. Ronald Shed. Well, let's go into Ronald Creepy. Talking about creepy. Ronald Shed. I love that scene because it's creepy as hell, and I don't really know. It didn't give everything away. What was he doing?
Oh
It,
yeah, I was
what
ask you.
was in that shed? The whole one with the birthday cake and everything. I really enjoyed that scene. It was one of those. There's another scene I'll bring up in a moment where I legitimately was like, "Wow, there's a mood. There's an atmosphere. It's creepy." I legitimately am being invested in this scene. Um, I thought it was a good scene.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to ask you, I didn't know if I missed something because I was confused as shit. And I was like, so I rewound it a little bit. I was like, did I miss him? Like who he was talking to? I tried to see whose name it was on the cake. I couldn't tell. Uh, it was very odd. So I didn't know because then when you lead up to the scene with the marshal and he shows like he's laying next to his mom. So I'm like, is he telling his mom happy birthday, or did he kill somebody else,
So
or did he
I've
kill
got a
the girl he
theory.
was with? Like,
So one of my I'll throw it out now. Here's my theory. So my first thought was, like you said, was it his mom? Did he dig up his mom, or is this just like a tribute to her there, or something weird like that? But then I thought, no, it goes out of its way to have. Um, he keeps having flashes of the trucks and everything. So then I'm like, well, maybe he has another prisoner. So that's where I'm going. Maybe he has another prisoner there.
well, that would make sense too because that would be the Kelly person. They saw the "Please help me" Kelly on the in his truck, that carved piece. So that could be it too. He could have a new person.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. But I, the guy that plays Ronald, I mean, it's crazy. We actually started looking into his past. He's done so many shows. Like he's been around for a long time, and usually does bit roles in various series. So it's sort of cool that he has a major show now that he's playing a big part in. He does good for what it is. I mean, it's not the best, but
Well, now every time I see him from here on out, I'm just going to be singing Andy Samberg
yes.
and Chironi for from here to eternity because that hair, like everything about that, just I don't know. And it's not even because there's people who go through chemo. There's people who uh, just wear wigs because they enjoy them. They like to have a different hairstyle all the time. Like there's a lot of reasons to wear wigs. but it seems like he's doing it to hide, and it's such a shitty wig that it's like you can tell. So he goes into a gas station, and even that, like he was saying, "Oh, is that Ronald?" Like he knew it was him. Now, yes, he set up a camera. Yes, the guy laid there. There's not going to be any other weirdo laying in a freshly dug grave, but the fact that they already know what he looks like incognito is kind of showing that he's not very good at being incognito. After he dyed his hair black and slicked it back, and
That
like
was,
now he
that
puts
was-
another like awful wig and some Harry Potter glasses. Like,
well, let me ask you this thing, because do you clearly it's a wig, but do you think in story he grew his hair long, and that's the story that it's supposed to be real
I,
hair?
I hope that it is, just because that would be 100 times worse. Like if he just took the wig off one day, I'd be like, okay, that's funny. He was trying to be in disguise. But if they just said that he grew his hair out and that's what it looks like, it'd be like I said, it's just it's so bad that it's funny. It's still entertaining, regardless of how bad or good it is. I'm still entertained because I'm sitting there giggling the whole time.
All right, let's go into episode 11's main plot. Well, I guess we'll do it character by character. We're introduced to a whole lot of characters. And basically, the plot, the main meat of the plot is Ginny used to know this dude named Blake. And holy shit, he calls from jail. And he's like, hey, Ginny, I need your help. And the look on her face, the way she performed that shit, I mean, goddamn, like she just lost her husband, but oh, that is out the window, man. She is all about some Blake. I'm like, damn, man, what?
They just had
Blake?
their like 21 gun cowboy salute funeral for him, where she was getting all choked up and couldn't sing the song, and had to have Cassie, who also slept with her husband, come out and help her sing. And then, like you said, 2 episodes later, she's like, "Hey, Blake."
Dude, it's not even that. I mean, that scene was hilarious. She's looking for some Blake. So she ends up he basically says, "Hey, I'm in jail. They say I beat the shit out of my girlfriend or this girl. I don't know if they were supposedly a couple or not, but this girl." And he's saying they say I beat the hell out of her. I didn't, and I need your help. And that's the mystery. Now we don't get in it. We don't know. We don't know the truth. What exactly is going on? It gets a little more complicated when we are introduced to his family, but that's the mystery. They're going to try and clear Blake's name. Cassie doesn't know him. Jenny does, and she vouches for him. Is like, no, he wouldn't do this. Um, you have anything about the main plot before? Because I'll do character by character.
The only thing was that he said that he knew her when she was a little kid, and he was teaching her how to drive on a tractor or something.
That's right.
So I don't
Yep.
think that they were together. Like they were more childhood. Like he was a big brother ish to her. Now that doesn't mean in this day and age that they couldn't have been a couple, but according to what he said, it didn't seem as though that was the reason that they were together.
And her name is Rosie. That was her character's name. We didn't meet her. We did see the pictures of her. So, just off the top, do you think he did it, or do you think it is something weird? Because that was something I was trying to gauge. Like, are they going to throw a twist where he did in fact do it? And there's, in other words, are they trying to throw us off and then do sort of a double
I
thing?
think they could do that, but I don't know. I think what they're trying to do is confuse us as to which one of the 9 members of his family,
Yeah.
what John Wayne or whoever, basically beat the girl up and framed him so that they could get the ranch and not him. So I'm just curious as to which one did it, whether it was his dad, his mom trying to save him. Like, there's a lot of what ifs. So I think it was one of them that framed him, but I just don't know which one yet.
So yeah, his dad owns a ranch, and apparently it's a badass ranch because everybody in town is scared of the dad. He has a lot of power, an obscene amount of power, and I'm very confused as to why. They don't really, to me, go enough into it because the police are in his pocket. Everybody is, whatever he says basically goes. His name is Horst, and he just had a stroke He's not doing well. He's aware that he doesn't have long to live. He's on all these medications, and he's basically trying to secure the future of his family. Blake was supposed to be the one. He's the child that's going to inherit, everything. But because of what happened with Rosie, Blake is now out of the picture. Horst is introduced. I actually like the scene he was introduced when he showed. I don't know. You probably laughed, but when he shows up to his
Yeah.
son, he drops the dirt in his hand, and he's like, "That's all you'll get."
Well, it made me laugh even harder because he looks like Uncle Ruckus. So, like, all I could imagine was that scene happening with Uncle Ruckus's voice. So, yeah, I was laughing hysterically.
So I thought it was an interesting dynamic. It's funny because there's several scenes, and we're going to talk about a bunch of them here, where on paper the scene should work, but then it sort of falls apart when they shoot it. Like there's a couple lines of dialogue where I'm like, okay, I see why they wrote it, but it didn't quite deliver. And one of those lines would be another scene with Horst where he's with his family. It's game night, and his son pulls a knife. He didn't really even pull the knife on his dad. He just has a knife. He likes playing with knives and listening to metal because he's edgy. And he has a knife, and his dad's like, "If you pull a knife on me, you better put it back wet," implying that you better use it. And then he pulls a little tiny gun out and shoots a deer head or elk head. Um, that scene, I did laugh. The line "put the knife back wet," I think that could work. I, on paper, I can see that line working. It didn't quite work in the scene.
No. And it was just funny because he already had the knife out. It wasn't like he drew a knife like a gun on his dad. He was playing shoots and ladders with the goddamn knife. He was using it on the spinner. So it wasn't even that he like pulled it on his dad and his dad was pissed. You better use it or, I'm going to shoot you. Like it, like you said, it, and he was laying down, pulled the gun. It was, if any one of his brothers would have delivered that line, it would have been better than the dad who's laying down, barely can sit up, and then pulls a gun and shoots at him. The whole scene to me, I don't think it was supposed to be funny, but I was dying laughing the whole fucking time.
His wife is Margaret. We know that she's ready for him to die. There's a, there's a scene where he's choking on his meds, and she's like hesitant to give him water. Now here's a scene I liked. I don't know if you did. I legitimately thought it was a well done scene. It's a scene where Jenny goes to the house. It's just Horst and Margaret. She makes her tea. He comes in the room like an asshole, takes his wife's tea and like chugs it. Which that made me laugh, but it was a power play. It was a I'm the king of the house type move. It was an asshole move. And then he basically tells Jenny, he threatens her. He basically was like, you're trespassing, and you know what you do to trespassers. And so the reason I like the scene is I thought there was legit tension in the scene. I thought everyone performed well. The dialogue I thought was fine. It was a scene that stuck out to me because I was like, wow, this is a well done sequence. Everyone's playing their part right. I actually feel the tension in the air. There was nothing I laughed at outside of the chugging the tea because it was such a jerk thing to do.
I don't know. I laughed at the whole thing because not because it wasn't shitty. Like the way he was treating his wife was fucked up, but her reaction, I don't know who the mom actress is, but everything she does is very childlike. And I don't know if they're going to explain that or if that's just the route she took. I don't know, but she acts just like a kid. So every time something happens, she's acting like a child. So it's kind of weird for me. And then, Jenny's face, instead of being like shocked or offended or anything, she just kind of has like a smirk on her face. And it, to me, didn't fit the scene at all. It felt really weird. That whole scene and him like looking over his shoulder it reminded me of Zoolander when Ben Stiller was doing like trying to do Blue Steel or whatever. That's what it looked like to me, and I was fucking dying. The whole sequence, I just couldn't stop laughing.
Well, I like the scene clearly more than you. the And the mom, my guess is they're playing the angle that the whole, he runs things and she probably never had any. She probably married him straight out of school, and um, she's probably never really been an adult outside of raising the kids. That's what I'm getting from the character. Now they need to do a better job of
Well,
explaining why she wants him dead because they haven't gone into that
oh,
exactly.
after that scene, he probably had to come. And I don't, I don't disagree that he needs to die. I'm just saying that and that is true though, because they don't really talk about how long they've been together. And she looks awfully young to be having kids the age that they are. So, she could have been basically a child bride type thing. And
Or
that
they
would make sense now that I think about it.
or they just don't give a shit about casting and even gauging that. Because you're right, she looks young. You're looking at some of these kids. You're like, how old is JW?
Yeah.
Um, so we got three more, and all four if you include Blake. We basically talked all that there was to be talked about as far as Blake, but let's go with Cheyenne. So when she's first introduced, I'm like, oh no. I'm gonna hate this character, and throughout the game night sequence, I did. But I am curious what you think about this because I liked the scene in the bar. I thought her put down of the guy was funny, but in a good like put down way. Because when that scene started, I'm like, oh, here we go. All of her disses on him, I thought actually for me they landed. They landed better than I thought they would. And then her conversation with Cassie actually felt like two people talking. It didn't feel like that crazy to me. So I was like, okay, so that seems okay. And then there's a scene with her mom and her giving her the drug. It was a quick scene. There wasn't much to it, but I didn't hate the bar scene. I thought it was okay.
No, when you talk about like scenes that felt hurried, felt forced, that one actually felt genuine because there's this guy hitting on Cassie. She's like trying to, uh, she's trying to like brush him off and then talk to the bartender. So there's a lot of things that in that scene felt very real. And even the conversation that they had with each other, it felt more natural. So I don't know if that's a chemistry thing or just better written or if it's just that scene was decently done.
They had more time to shoot it.
Yeah. They let them take 3 takes instead of doing it on the first one.
Let's talk about your favorite Rand. He is the ultimate just poorly written character. I mean, he plays with knives. He listens to metal. He says
Oh, man,
weird.
pick.
He says weird shit. He has a bunch of rings. he
Bands, man. Yeah, Drew Bands.
He got Drew Bands. Yeah. He he makes meth and he uses it. I was just like, whatever, man. Okay, it's just one of those characters that there's nothing to them outside of what they've shown. There's no depth. There's nothing complex or interesting. Like as shitty as Ronald is, and as there are some layers to him to some degree. It's not the best written, but there is a little more to him. This guy, wow.
Yeah, like you said, Ronald. Even this episode with the shed, or even with the girlfriend and they're tasing each other or whatever. You're still trying to learn who Ronald is as a person, and this guy is just immediately you're like, well, he's just the methed out bad boy that they're trying to fit in a role. Like he's
a '90s villain.
Yes, he's not well written. The actor does well, it depends on what he's trying to portray. Because if he's trying to portray like you said, a '90s villain in a Limp Bizkit video, he's doing a great job. But if he's trying to act in any of the scenes, not so much.
We got our boy JW.
They do, man.
Because of course Horst would name one of his kids John Wayne. So I don't really have a lot to say about him. He actually does have a decent amount of dialogue, but I really don't have a gauge. Actually, he has more than Rand, but I don't know. He's just sort of there. he's the other son, if you will, and basically his father tells him, "Well, because Blake screwed up, you're getting everything." It's like, all right. He's trying to keep his brother in check, and he's trying to, keep things in order, and he's there. Like I said, he has actually quite a bit of dialogue, but I didn't really feel the character, if you will. I didn't really think good or bad of him. He was just there.
Well, I mean, as long as he's just tipping his hat to the ladies.
Yeah, and that shit. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I need to go visit Montana now because I need to find out whether or not everybody there really wears cowboy hats and the coats that they wore in Dumb and Dumber. Like, I need to find that out because jean jackets with like what sheep wool collars and stuff. I don't. I'm really curious because that's like, it's what you see in the movies, more modern Western type things where yellow was it Yellowstone, those kind of
Yeah.
shows, they film in a lot of denim and cowboy hats, and I'm really curious if that's what Montana is now.
Well, like for him, it makes sense in that he does work on a ranch, but I wonder about like the people that don't.
I know that's what I'm saying. The 21 gun salute.
Yeah, that
Everybody
scene.
cowboy.
Yes,
So
exactly.
although, like you said, it works for this character, I'm really curious. That's a legit question I have now about Montana. So if anybody in the comments is from Montana and can shed some light on that, I would appreciate it.
Because we've been through all parts of the South, and there are parts that some people assume wear cowboy hats that do not at all, and then there are some that do. There
Yeah.
are definitely areas that it is common. But yeah, I don't know.
But it's just as much touristy. Like you go through
Yes.
Nashville, there's like 95 cowboy hat stations, and every tourist that goes through Nashville has one. So, but I don't know if that's the same up there. People come to Montana to visit. The
But you go to
yellow.
like Houston, you'll see a shit ton of cowboy hats.
Yeah, because
Um,
Texas got cowboy hats.
it just yeah, I don't know. I spent some time in Arizona. I don't remember really seeing them. So cowboy boots, a lot of people wear those. But you'll see those in Georgia and Kentucky and just about everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, I guess I'll go through the ending of the episode because they did end on a hell of a cliffhanger. I'll give them that. Um, so basically, uh, Jenny finds Rand's meth lab and he chases her and she falls in a hole and I guess it looks like he's going to try and kill her. Cassie is captured by a cop and he takes her not to the police station. So yet again the assumption is he taking her out to kill her? And then Blake is released, but his dad picks him up even though he doesn't want to be picked up. So the three, I guess, main characters of this story arc, um, Cassie, Jenny, and then now Blake, are all in peril. that's how the episode ended.
Yeah, especially with Cassie. That to me is the most interesting storyline because they're not going to kill Jenny off, so I'm not really too worried about that. I am curious as to what's going to happen with Cassie, and the Blake one is just that family dynamic is super funny to me. Like the fact that him and his dad hate each other, and the dad looks like Uncle Ruckus, and Blake just broke out of jail, and he just okay. So he wasn't in jail very long, right? So why is he dressed once again like straight out of a '90s like "Color Me Bad" video? He's got like this. He's like a black tank top on with a bunch of chains and everything, and everything was just so over the top, but it was silly over the top. And like I said, the only part and the end of this episode that I was super interested to see where it goes next was the Cassie storyline, which is funny because I just keep bitching about her, but hers is the one I actually want to know the outcome to.
Well, the one thing, we've made fun of this show for the last, almost hour, and that's what we do here. But I will, yet again, what I said at the top. You're always entertained, and you never know where it's going. And those are the two. And look, that's not because of good writing. It's just they throw shit at you and hope it sticks. I think the ratings were decent this week. I'm not. I did check them. I can't remember what they were, but they were okay. Um, I don't know. We'll see if the show sticks around, if they're able to maintain their ratings. But
Well, as in the trailer or preview, it's like the number one, like newest show or number one rated something. I was like, huh. It's like the number one rated something returns. I was like, well, damn.
yeah, people watch it. Well, shit, we we watch it. so so yeah, we appreciate everyone listening. We're going to continue these reviews. Thank God next week it'll be one episode, which is a lot easier to discuss than two. If you've been on the channel before, I despise doing multiple episode reviews because structuring the conversation is a pain in the ass, and it just is. And you're dealing with 2 3 act structures that don't play off each other properly. So that will not be the case next week. So yeah, a lot of new stuff on the channel. Look for that, and yeah, we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.